Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to Commerce Today. My name is Darren, and as always, I'm here with my wonderful and amazing co-host, Joshua Warren. So we're excited to have you here and getting this rolling. And Josh, you were talking to me before the show and kind of as we prep for this about you getting or saw 38x response, basically 38 times better response to a marketing outreach. And I'm like, no way. Come on, you're pulling my leg. So that's what we're talking about today, guys. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so specifically that was a 38%, or not 38%, 38 times higher engagement on Mastodon versus Twitter. So there was a brand that
A dinosaur, you mean?
not the dinosaur.
Oh, okay.
But there was a brand that posted the exact same thing on Twitter, the exact same thing on Mastodon, and it's just insane. I'll just actually jump right into it and then explain the dinosaur. So the post on Twitter saw 12 engagements, despite the brand having a following of over 16,000 Twitter users. On Mastodon, they saw 450 engagements from only 4,100 users. So smaller following on Mastodon, much bigger engagement level.
Well, it truly is a dinosaur then.
It is. It's not as old as a dinosaur, but it is as big as one, or hopefully will become that way. But yeah, we're kind of joking about it. But basically, Mastodon is you could call it a social network of sorts. But it's not really, in a lot of ways, a social network. It's something that's a little bit different. I don't think we have a word for this yet.
Well, wait a second.
A lot of people call it the Fediverse. So
Really? Okay, wait a second. Come on, I'm calling this out here. You're either pregnant or you're not. There's not really an in-between. So how does this work? Tell me a little bit more. Help me understand this.
So Mastodon, it's got its roots in open source. It's actually a German nonprofit that started this whole thing. And it's an open standard, anyone can run a Mastodon server. Now, just because you're running a Mastodon server, and I guess, you get that look. All right, going back another step. So Mastodon server, basically, there's a website. People can go to it. They can create an account, and they can post messages that other people on that server see. They can follow other people on that server and interact with other people on that server. And if you're just looking at just the server's website, you could almost say, hey, this looks kind of like Twitter. But
well, I was gonna pause you there and say, how is this different? And I have this much knowledge, but how is this different than Discord?
That's a good question. So I guess the biggest difference is with a Mastodon server that's participating in the Fediverse, which I haven't gotten to yet. It's public. Anyone can go to that website. They can view those posts. They don't have to be given access to a Discord server. So it's designed. It's really public first, and whereas I look at Discord as kind of private or confidential first.
Okay.
So that's the big difference. But getting on, because I'm so excited about the Fediverse. The Fediverse is the universe of federated Mastodon servers, and they wonder why, it hasn't seen mass public adoption yet. It's so simple. But really all that means is a Mastodon server can connect to another Mastodon server. And there's a group of hundreds of servers, actually, that have all agreed to a certain set of standards. They've all connected together. That means all the users on those servers can see the posts from users on the other servers. And, again, now you kind of get to the point where you have Twitter, sort of. And the sort of,
okay,
the sort of really comes down to if you aren't following someone and you're looking at a public feed, the default public feed will just show you posts from your own server. And so if you sign up on a server, and this kind of jumps to some fun we were having before the show, I was introducing Darren to the list of Mastodon servers from Join Mastodon. And you can join a server. For instance, there's actually a server for the PHP community. And so it's all PHP developers. You can join that one, and all the posts you're going to see by default are from everyone else on that server. Lots of PHP talk. I was kind of joking earlier about there was a server called nerdculture.de. So for our German audience that considers themselves nerds,
there you go.
That could be the server for them. So
Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Exactly. So you can pick a server based on an interest. You can pick it based on geography. Some are just general purpose servers. The thing you have to remember is that the name of your server is part of how people find you. And so this is actually something in an article I wrote recently about Mastodon for for e-commerce brands, which is what we're supposed to be talking about today, they may want to consider, unless your target is German nerds, you might not want to sign up on nerdculture.de because let's say you are Walmart. Your Mastodon name would be Walmart at nerdculture.de. So may not really fit with the brand image that you want. Might, I don't know.
Well, okay, so you directed me to Mastodon, and I'm looking at the litany of options that are out there. And I first need to tell you that I think I would have paralysis of analysis just trying to decide where I might want to go for this craziness. And then, okay, let's say I can finally get through it, or maybe I just put it on a wall and throw a dart at it or something like that. So once I end up there, am I stuck there? Can I not see anything? Is this kind of one of those lifelong sentences that I've banished myself to this location?
No, so you can actually migrate your account to another server, and you can see posts and follow people on the other servers as well. And this gets back to, I kind of skipped past this, but in a lot of ways, while it predates the issues with Twitter lately, Mastodon was designed to basically prevent that from ever happening on Mastodon. It's designed to where you can't have one person that has all the control. You can't have one company that has all the control. So if you don't like something that's happening on the Mastodon server you're on, you can leave. You can go to a different server. You also have the risk of if the server you're on closes down, because servers cost money. So if the person running it or the company running it can't afford it, it could in theory close down. So you do want to select one that you feel like is going to be stable, and that's why on a lot of these you can actually view, or actually almost all of the Mastodon servers on Join Mastodon, you can view some information about who's running it, kind of the legal structure behind it, that sort of thing. So for instance, kind of getting back to some things I've been writing recently, if you're a brand that's targeting people just in New York City, let's say you're a local shop in New York, there's a Mastodon instance called masto.nyc you're going to be targeted and identified right there. If you're more of a broad-based brand, there's a lot of really generic ones that are more like mastodon.social and things like that you might want to consider joining.
Well, yeah, and didn't we found that one that was DMV, that was the Washington, D.C., I can't remember the M.
D.C., Maryland.
Maryland and Virginia, yeah. And then I just passed one that was, there's even a Garden State that's social, that's New Jersey. So, yeah, it looks like you could find your niche, and all right, I can see how that would be pretty cool. But I guess how can merchants, is the advertising opportunity or the getting the information out opportunity, is it similar to what you would have in a Twitter environment or a Facebook or Instagram or let's call it the mainstream social networks?
Now we got the mainstream social media.
Yeah.
It's fairly similar to Twitter. The biggest difference, and the reason that that brand saw that 38 times increase in engagement, is there's no algorithm that basically every post that you make, everyone that is following you is going to see that. Whereas on Twitter, Facebook, especially lately, there's an algorithm that some cynics, which they're probably right, think is designed in part so that brands, if you want to reach your followers, have to pay. You have to pay to advertise to reach those people. Your tweets, your Facebook posts aren't necessarily going to show up in their feed otherwise. And then again on Mastodon, no ad sales, no ads, no algorithm. All your messages will go out to everybody that's following you.
So let me ask you this: you were talking about, you said the big one, Walmart. Could it be a good thing if Walmart were to create their own server?
Yeah, and there's actually people that are doing that and that are then tying those servers into the Fediverse, signing into the other Mastodon servers or to that network. I've even there's an e-commerce expert I follow that he actually created his own server. So he has his whole username is basically just very similar to what his email address would be, because he has his own private but public and connected into the network server.
Interesting. So I guess what all does it take to to run this kind of server? Is it just, hey, get something Amazon AWS or something like that?
Yeah, the server I'm on actually is run just on an AWS platform. And so that part's pretty simple. If you're familiar with or have staff that's familiar with running open source applications on the web, that part's pretty simple. I think the hardest part is you are at some level making a commitment whenever you set up these servers that you'll keep it stable, you'll keep it running. And some of the servers do moderate, and they will typically they're only going to filter out illegal content. They're really the agreement to join that Fediverse says you're not really going to censor based on viewpoints.
Right.
But you do have to then have kind of some people that are going to regulate what happens on that server.
So if to our merchant friends that are listening, do you feel, Josh, that, I mean, do they need to run out and either join a Mastodon server or create their own, or is this a, hey, we're giving you the pregame warm-up, check it out, put it on your roadmap or on your view screen, if you will, but it's not something that you want to have to do right away?
I think for all e-commerce brands, you ought to join Mastodon. You ought to at least reserve your brand name, kind of pick which server you want to be on, get your brand name, and then from there, what you do with it depends a lot on your target audience. If you are dealing with a lot of people that are on the cutting edge, that are really active in technology, you probably ought to be posting on Mastodon. Like, I don't know if they are or not. Brand that just comes to mind is Anchor, that makes all those chargers.
Oh, yeah.
If they're not already on Mastodon, they need to be.
They ought to be.
But then if you're someone that is targeting an audience that, is slow to adopt things, maybe if your audience either isn't on the web yet or they're all still on Facebook, then you probably don't need to worry about doing more than just reserving your brand name.
Do you think Apple is on Mastodon?
Really fun fact, there was a VP of Apple that joined Mastodon, and for a day or two after he joined, because nobody knew he had joined or who he was, for a day or two you could actually send him a message and he was interacting with people until obviously the following got too big and too many people found him. But there are Apple executives on Mastodon. Oh, and Mastodon messages, that reminds me of another fun fact that we were joking about beforehand. On Twitter you tweet. On Mastodon you toot. So some of the naming of some of this, I just envision some interesting social media marketing conversations at brands.
Now, are the messages that they do, I mean, are they limited to like the 140 characters like a tweet?
There is a limit. However, each server seems to kind of have some different rules, and there's not really a clear standard that I've seen yet. I've seen some servers that have wanted to limit it down to tweet size, some that were allowing a little bit bigger posts. And that's the interesting thing about Mastodon is even though it's been around for a few years now, it's really the last 6 months that it's gotten the limelight, and I think they're still deciding exactly how it's going to work, what it's going to look like.
And we're going to have some information in the show notes about kind of where to join and even where to find you and be able to connect up and everything, correct?
Yes, you can toot at me.
There we go. Gosh, I've been looking forward to doing that for a long time. All right. I guess as we close this up a little bit here, where do you see this going? I guess you're definitely a futurist as you look at things. So this is kind of interesting and has some coolness to it and definitely some freedom for some people. But where do you think it might go?
I think in the next 1 to 6 months, we're going to see for sure. I think it's at kind of that point in time where this could become the next big thing. I know that even some of the things coming out of the U.S. government right now, they're really looking at the commercial social networks. They're looking at how they're using our data. There's a lot of backlash against that. I think that there's definitely an opportunity here where Mastodon becomes kind of a major player as far as social networks go, and could be incredibly useful for all brands. But it's really going to depend on, is this just a flash in the pan? People are interested right now because all the Twitter headlines, or is this going to be a long-term basically change in society at some level? And I'm hoping for that, honestly. My background in open source, my interest in freedom, I love the idea of Mastodon, but realistically, I think it's too soon to see, and that's why I would say those those brands who you feel like your audience is going to engage or resonate with something like this, jump on there, because there's basically free advertising for you. But if your customers are a little slower to move on things like this, then they may never make it to Mastodon. So that might not be the right fit.
That makes sense. I think, as with anything, is there some money involved with it is really going to potentially drive some things. However, you never know. Well, folks, we hope you've enjoyed this. There's a lot here. I do want to remind you that based on this is all information, because Mastodon's changing on a, let's call it, hourly basis. This is based on the hour that we're doing and putting this podcast together. So you have been fair warned. Your mileage may vary. It may be totally wildly different by the time you hear this. But we love it that you've joined us, and we welcome you to be here next time. And until then, take care and have a great day.